Hi, this is a quick video to show how to use mate references and component patterns to quickly put assemblies together that have parts that fit together all the time, like the pins that go inside these connectors in this wire harness. So we wanted to have a bill of materials that had the correct components in it. So at the assembly level, we've mated in the pins to these connectors, which usually takes a bit of mates and usually patterns or mirrors or something like that to get all of the pins accounted for. We can quickly put these pins in if we set them up ahead of time. Inside of this pin component, if you look at my feature manager, I've got mate references over here. There's a feature called a mate reference that, like any feature, I can right click and edit the definition. Here's where you can name the mate reference. And you can also put in feature geometry. Here I've used faces, but you can use faces, axes, or planes and set up what type of mates are going to go with this geometry. For this feature to work, both parts are going to need to have this reference. So I'm going to switch over to the connector. In this one, I'm going to create a mate reference. You can find it on your feature toolbar under references, something called mate reference. And you simply select the geometry in the part that you're after, what type of mate you're after, and the orientation. So if it comes in backwards, you want to check the orientations on these. But I'm just making them match up to the items that I put on the pin. And you have to give it the specific name that you gave it in the other part in order for them to pair up. If you just leave it blank, it'll put in a basic type of mate reference. And this is what the toolbox uses inside of SOLIDWORKS, where you can just drag a part from the File Explorer and it'll snap into a position, is because it has a simple mate reference. But if you expressly give it a name, then it'll have a matching item at the assembly level, and they'll snap in together. Let's take a look. Once I've saved this part, I'm going to create an assembly out of it. There we go. I've got my component inside the assembly. And if I drag this into the assembly, you'll see that if I'm not near the component, it won't mate. It'll just drop into place. But once it hits a component that has that same mate reference name, it puts the component into the assembly, and the three mates that I created are there as well. So that's using mate references. I also want to use a component pattern. Let me go back into this connector. It's an imported piece of geometry, so I don't have a pattern that I can reference yet. Let's take a look at a way that I can put one in. Up in my search command, I'm going to search for the delete face feature. And if I choose to delete and patch, and I take out faces that end up, when you remove them, it's easy for it to patch just these two squares, and it will do that and remove that geometry. Now I'm going to do a linear pattern here for a certain distance. Make sure it's going the right way, and then I get two of them. And what I want to use is I want to use faces instead of a feature because it's an imported component. I don't have any features that I can pattern. But if my faces, again, meet up exactly with where those two squares were, it'll give me a feature. So I still have a solid, still good to go. When I go back into this assembly, and what I want to do here is I want to create a pattern-driven component pattern, where I tell it every time you see one of these pins, and I've picked a face that's in a pattern, which I have a linear pattern here, I want to see one of those. With a 2-pin connector, not that big of a deal, but you could tell if I had 10 or 16, it'd be pretty easy to populate all those quickly with just a couple of mates and a pattern. All right, thanks.